do the chat activity. If you can put it in the chat. IET, CNA. Wonderful. Medical assistant, nurse assistant, pharmacy, CMA. Great. So many of you already have some medical pathways. That's great. Pharmacy technician, optical assisting. Very cool. Dental assisting. I'm seeing lots of medical assistants and dental assistant, pharmacy tech, medical billing and coding. Nice. And vocational nursing, nurse's assistant. Great. Lots of acronyms here. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Keep them coming so, people kind of get the idea of, what's being offered currently. All right. Oops. Sorry. We're going to move on. And, oh, I'm sorry. Let me this away out of this. Okay. So I wanted to share our objectives today. I hope they match yours. You are going to gain insights into the benefits and structure of an integrated healthcare curriculum, especially for English language learners. And we're going to explore instructional strategies from 2 adult education agencies with some real world examples. And we'll identify challenges and potential solutions for implementing an integrated healthcare curriculum, and also discover some professional learning opportunities and resources through CALPRO. Does that sound good? Okay, and here is the agenda. We are doing the introduction. We're going to talk about background and importance, and we'll hear from Charles A. Jones as well as Saddleback College, and then we'll go over some resources and PD opportunities from CalPro. Okay, well, so when I go right into the background part, and so why healthcare pathways? This is the California context now. California faces a significant shortage of healthcare workers currently, and approximately about 11.4 million people, or 40% of Californians, live in areas with a shortage of primary care health professionals. So it's critical that we have pathways for people to get into the workforce in the industry. And California's growing, aging population increases the demand for accessible healthcare services. And investing a representative healthcare workforce, including bilingual and multilingual individuals, is critical to creating a California healthcare system for everyone, right? And, currently employers are increasingly seeking bilingual and multicultural workforce that can serve all patients and communities in California. And it's a great match between our adult ELL's strengths and skills and what employers and the community need. So, and the new minimum wage laws for healthcare workers are trying to attract more individuals to the medical field. So those are the whys. And also, it also benefits adult learners, right? Developing healthcare pathways and implementing healthcare integrated curriculum can benefit adult learners, and training in healthcare careers can provide stable, well-paying job opportunities. We just talked about the minimum wage increase, and ELLs can benefit from accelerated and integrated programs that combine the language skills and vocational training that can improve their employability and also economic stability, and contextualizing the potential to accelerate student progress and can increase their transferability skills as well as their attention and motivation. So all good stuff. And finally, a career pathway or stackable credentials. Like I saw many of you have multiple options. Having those different levels or different types of certification programs can help adult learners, have continuing professional development and career growth. Okay, so I think that's, yeah, and I'll pass it over to Sudi to talk a little bit about the IET, Integrated Education and Training.
Thanks so much, Sachiko. And hi, friends. Hi, everyone. So when you think about everything that Sachiko just shared, one way to implement an integrated healthcare curriculum is through the Integrated Education or IET model. So in the chat, let me know how many of you have heard of IET or you're currently conducting IET programs. Conducting. Okay, good. Aware but not conducting. Great, Chris, you're in the right spot. Wonderful. Okay, great. So a lot of us are already doing IET and some of us are preparing and learning about IET. So you're in the right place. Now, when you think about it, our according to the English Language Learner Healthcare Career Pathway Grant, there are other accelerated learning models that you can use in addition to IET, such as bridge programming, dual or co-enrollment, of course, IET, pre-apprenticeship, and work-based learning. We're focusing on IET specifically today. IET provides adult education literacy activities concurrently and contextually with workforce preparation and training specific to the occupation. It also intends to support career pathways for our adult learners, including our English language learners, with aligned, integrated, and contextualized curriculum, instruction, and services. And then lastly, it aims to transition our adult learners beyond foundational education to career pathways by offering job training and eventual employment. So let's look a little closer at the model. You can see here that there are three primary components of IET. There's workforce training, for example, pharmacy clerk or phlebotomy. Workforce preparation, those are your employability skills, soft skills like communication, customer service, job interview, resume writing, digital literacy. There's also activities that are designed for specific occupation, the occupational cluster, and that's your workforce training piece that we talked about earlier. So these three components must occur concurrently and within the same learning period, for example, within a semester. And again, they need to be integrated with one another. Now, the heart of an IET program and integrated instruction is having that single set of learning objectives and integrated curriculum that incorporate the specific workforce training context and development of basic skills, including reading, writing, listening, speaking, mathematics, for example, and workforce prep, which includes those broader skills, sometimes called employability skills, that are required in the in the workplace, including teamwork, digital literacy, critical thinking, and self-management. The key is to design an integrated program and a curriculum that develops these three required components simultaneously rather than sequentially or separately, as well as having it be contextualized and having it happen contextually. So let's dive a little bit deeper. So here in California, there are two California Department of Education approved models for integrated education and training. That's co-teaching and alternating teaching. In the first model, concurrent and contextualized teaching can be done through co-teaching, where a basic skills teacher, that's English as a second language, adult basic ed, or high school equivalency, and your workforce training teacher or your CTE teacher team teach in the same classroom at the same time. Now, in the second model, that's alternating teaching, the students are enrolled in two different but coordinated and integrated courses. Students attend the two courses at different times within the same learning period. In a bit, you're going to hear some examples from our guest speakers today and how they structured their IET programs. But what I really want to call out is, remember, these things are always integrated within each other. They're not separate. So let's dive deeper. So we just said IET requires things to be happening concurrently and contextually, right? So IET requires concurrent enrollment. This is when the students are enrolled in both the adult education literacy activity or course, that's your ESL, ABE, HSE, and the workforce training and CTE program or CTE programs simultaneously. Usually there are two instructors, but not always. So if you're paying attention to our Adult Education and Family Literacy Act or our Integrated English Language and Civics Education, IELCE, in California, we just talked about that there's those two allowed models. But we're looking at the delivery approaches, those two allowed models can actually be delivered in four separate ways. So we know that IET requires thoughtful planning and effective delivery of the integrated instruction. So you want to work with your partners to identify and plan out the delivery approach for your program. So here are the four common instructional delivery approaches. There's one where the occupational trainer and the adult education instructor team teach 100% of the time in the same virtual or physical space. Both teachers equally plan and deliver the IET program's instruction in the same space at the same time with the same learners. This is considered co-teaching in California. Number two is when occupational trainer and the adult education instructor deliver concurrently while in separate virtual or physical spaces 100% of the time. The teachers meet to discuss how to integrate the instructional content and they co-plan their teaching, but in general deliver their own instruction. In California, we call this alternating teaching. Now, the third method is when the occupational trainer and the adult education instructor team teach at least some of the time in the same virtual or physical space. And for the remaining time, they teach concurrently in separate spaces. Again, co-planning meetings, they determine who plans and delivers the content in the team teaching setting, and each teacher delivers the content in their respective classroom. This is a model of team teaching that happens in California. It's actually kind of a mashup of team teaching and alternating teaching. And then the last one, and we like to call this the unicorn approach. This is the delivery approach in which one instructor has the required credentials to teach both the occupational skills and the adult education content, either in a virtual or physical space. Again, this is a lot less common because it's not as common that you find someone who's credentialed in both CTE and basic skills like ESL or ABE or HSE, which is why we call them the unicorn teacher that can teach both subjects and has the credentials to do so. Now, for either model, it's critical that instructors in both the basic skills program and the workforce training or CTE program collaborate and coordinate to have that single set of learning objectives for their students. These learning objectives create a cohesive and efficient learning experience for our students and increases the likelihood of the student gaining successful employment. It also helps to clarify for our students what is expected and to model that integration that I was just talking about. These single set of learning objectives also create a clear goal for learners, ensuring that everyone understands the expected outcomes. So that's our single set of learning objectives our integrated objectives that include concepts specific to both our basic skills and our workforce training components. Now, I'd like to hand it over to our guest speakers because they're the real stars of this show and stop talking myself. But if you're interested in learning more about developing an IET program, please do feel free to reach out to us. Let us know. We have additional professional learning opportunities that we'll be showing at the end of this webinar as well. So please stay tuned. And I'm going to pass it back over to Sachiko, who I think might be muted.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you, Sudi. And as we mentioned earlier, we'll share two program examples, the pharmacy clerk pathway at Charles A. Jones and Saddleback College's clinical lab assistant and phlebotomy program. And as you listen, please put your questions in the chat. We will respond to as many questions as time allows. Margot and Lana, take it away. And let me...
And Lana, you're muted.
Yes.
There
Hi,
we go.
everyone. My name is Lana Fong, and I am the Pharmacy Technician Program Director here at Charles A. Jones Career and Education Center. We're part of Sacramento City Unified School District. Pharmacy has been a part of my life for about 40 years, and I have been an instructor here at Charles A. Jones for 20 years. This has been my first time working with ESL students in the pharmacy clerk IET program, and my program partner is Margot Sterling.
Hi, everybody. We're so glad that you're here today. My name is Margot, as you can see my name below, so I don't even need to introduce myself. But I have been an ESL teacher actually since 1969 when I graduated. And I went to Mexico and I lived in Mexico for 26 years. And that was where I actually began teaching ESL. I guess that's about it. I've been working here in this school district teaching ESL since about 2000, here in Sacramento since about 2001, and in this school district since about 2006. Next slide, please. Okay, this spring will be our third cohort using the alternating teaching model. Both Lana and I teach in the afternoons. Both of us have classes in the morning, so we teach in the afternoon from 12 to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Lana teaches on Mondays and Tuesdays, and I teach Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
As far as the CTE requirements, what I do is teach the IET students basic pharmacy laws, customer service, understanding the role of the pharmacy clerk, working with over-the-counter medications, cash handling and working with the cash register, being able to translate prescriptions, inputting information into our software, and printing the pharmacy labels.
Next picture, please. Okay, onboarding techniques. We sent flyers to all the adult schools in our area and also to libraries, and that way we were able to get one student who was a volunteer at a library. We also gave the information to students here in the school who were learning English at a sort of a medium intermediate level to advanced students, and we got 4 students that way. That is still something that we're working on, is trying to get more students. Another is onboarding techniques. I give 2 days of orientation on Monday, or a Monday and a Tuesday, because sometimes students have a job or they have other plans for a Monday, but they can come on another day. Our school expectations, we require that all students arrive on time, and we also require that they have 90% attendance. Students must pass 2 co-ops in order to be able to pass the course, and all students are post-tested when they complete the course.
And let me describe what students can expect from taking the course. Not only will they further develop their language skills, but students will gain essential skills needed to work as a pharmacy clerk in retail pharmacies such as Walgreens or independent pharmacies.
Okay, we also help students identify barriers to their success. This is very important because not all students are ready to even take the course. And this is done during orientation interview. I do separate interviews with each student. Next slide, please. Students take CASAS pre-tests before beginning the program, and then post-tests upon completion. Right now, we are asking that students have at least a 211 on their CASAS pre-test, but we're thinking about raising it. The ESL portion of instruction provides 2 co-ops. The first is pharmacy, and I chose pharmacy 30.4 and soft skills 37.3. I would like to add online communication or digital literacy, but right now we don't have the time to provide that.
And as the CTE instructor in our partnership, I have actually created a post-assessment for the pharmacy clerk IET students so that we can improve student and program outcomes. Next slide. So in this slide, we can see the IET students in action, where some of the essential skills are going to be integrated into the classroom along with language support. So we see the students performing some role play activities with customer service, cash handling and working with the cash register, working with over-the-counter medications, diabetic supplies, as well as being able to translate prescriptions into the software and creating sample prescription labels. Next slide. Students also have the opportunity to go on field trips. So we have been very fortunate to be able to take students to a couple of live pharmacy environments, which will then help students to better understand what expectations might be as pharmacy clerks in the real world. Next slide. Next slide.
Okay, challenges. We found lots of challenges. I think the longer that we do this, the more challenges we seem to find. So little by little, we're working on each one to improve it so that our program gets better and better. The first one is, I think, and for most of you, or I think you will probably find that finding interested students who meet the English level requirements is a challenge. Another one is overcoming staff time constraints. Since Lana and I both teach in the mornings, we have very little time. Sometimes we have to get together after school is over, and neither of us has any other obligations. A third one is improving student language readiness. And we have found that the CASAS pretest score of 211 is just too low. So we're hoping to raise it to 218, maybe even 220, and see how that works out for us. Another barrier is family obligations that our students have. They have jobs sometimes. Sometimes their speaking skills are not very good. They have transportation problems and learning to navigate American systems and expectations in the workplace. So this not only includes people from other countries for immigrants, but even younger students who simply have never been working in the workplace and need to learn those skills. Another one is conquering students' lack of confidence in themselves. We found that even though they have even though they speak fairly well, they still don't have the confidence. And so building that confidence in them to be able to speak to customers and people who work in the pharmacy, that needs a lot of attention. That's probably our biggest challenge right now. We also want to create more practice for students to improve their pronunciation skills. I found that they really have a hard time with that, so I'm going to begin working harder on that, and that's another reason why I want to add more time to our program. Helping some students set realistic goals, learn to be punctual, and we want to be sure that we're there for them to offer them extra support.
And I'm going to talk about the successes. So yes, we have had quite a few successes as well. So the first, we have discovered excellent collaboration and a shared sense of commitment between instructors. Margot and I work very well together, and it has been a very fun process. Number two, the content and organization of materials was appropriate and worked well. Third, students' positive responses to the curriculum and its delivery. We found that the students, for the most part, were very motivated to learn. Number four, students' interests and commitment to pursuing a career path in pharmacy. We've had a couple of completers that expressed interest in pursuing the pharmacy technician program once their reading scores improved. And number five, learning the importance of having an orientation to introduce the program, establish expectations, guide students, and to address barriers. Next slide, please.
Okay, a couple of steps, things that we would like to do to improve our program is to accept a CASA score of actually to 18 instead of to 11 to improve student outcomes. That's going to be a key to being able to service them better. And also lengthen the program from 8 to 10 weeks to give more time for students to become comfortable with the language skills necessary to have conversations with patients and customers. So right now we have an 8-week class
Yes.
that lasts for 8 weeks, and we are giving, between the two of us, we are giving 15 hours of instruction per week. Next.
Great.
So, mhm.
Thank you. We have a few questions for you, if that's okay. We have some questions about the details of your, program. How long does the class meet? How many hours per week? And is there a certificate at the end?
Yeah, so right now the class is 8 weeks long, and it goes, since it's 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, then it's 15 hours a week. Now, as far as Lana, uh, we do give them certificates, don't we?
Yes, we do. A
Yes.
certificate of completion
Yes.
if they have successfully passed all the requirements.
Yeah, if they don't pass one of the CASAS tests, for examples, we can't give them a completion certificate.
Yes.
Thank you. We have a question about, does everyone in Lana's class take ESL? And there is a question about, the size of the class, like
Well, we wish
how
we had more.
Yes.
We wish
They-
we had more.
Yeah.
So that right now is something that we're really working on. I teach, it says here, do I teach completely different ESL lessons? Yes. But everything that I do is designed to help them with their speaking, to help them with, when I give them the co-ops, they learn a lot about pharmacy,
Yes.
a lot about prescription medications, over-the-counter medications, how to read labels, all of that. And all of that helps Lana with her work as well.
Yes, I think that the information really supports the other component. For example, Margot spends quite a bit of time in the beginning and throughout with the customer service scenarios, and those are pharmacy specific.
So for example, just an example of that would be if somebody came into the pharmacy and said, I don't just need my next medication, I need more of it because I'm going on a vacation for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. So what does the pharmacy clerk do? Can she give that information herself? Does she need to take that question to somebody else? Is she allowed to even answer those questions? So it's a lot of work to get them prepared to answer all of that information and know what to do.
All right. Thank you so much, Margot and Lana. I would like to move on. I know there are more questions, but we will respond in the chat or with a follow-up email as many questions as possible. But we would like to make sure we have time to hear from two Jennifers from Saddleback College. So we're going to move on. And Jennifer.
Yes, hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer. I am currently one of the phlebotomy instructors at Saddleback College. And I am also here with my partner. She's our English support instructor. Her name is Jennifer as well. You can just call us the Jens. So we currently co-teach, we integrate we call it the Yellow Healthcare Pathways Program for phlebotomy at Saddleback College. Just a little bit of an overview on myself. I started when I was about 19 as a phlebotomist, worked in the medical field for the last 18, 20 years. And my program director, who actually works for Saddleback, kept bothering me to come and teach. And I'm so glad she did. And I've been teaching there for about 3 years now. And then they asked me to come on and do the IET program. And since then, it's been great. So this is now, we are going into our 3rd semester doing the IET program for phlebotomy. And then I want to have my Jen Salas, did you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for welcoming me into this space. It has been a real honor to work with Jen in the support of AESL for phlebotomy. It really isn't just, an ESL vocabulary class. It really is this integrated ELD approach. And with the support of Jen and the content that has been outlined in the modules, it's phenomenal to see how we're really able to support the learners. As far as my background, I've been in K-12 education for over 2 decades, and I'm only in adult ed working with Jen for, this is our second semester together, but I can tell you that it is a great partnership, and I really couldn't do it without her and her guidance, but it really is exactly what our adult learners need, and they're finding.
Oh, I think we
I'll
lost
pass
you a
it
little
back
bit.
to you, Jen.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to cover the overview of our program. So the ELO healthcare programs are for students who would benefit from English language support while enrolled in the program. The ELO healthcare programs at Saddleback College are offered along with adult basic education to provide English as a second language. I'd also like to point out that these are non-credit classes that the students can take, so they are free of charge for the students. And Saddleback College phlebotomy certificate of completion gives them professional and current professionals the opportunity to master skills necessary for employment as a clinical lab assistant or phlebotomist. So when the students do complete our program, they are eligible to sit for a board exam for phlebotomy. Once they pass their board exam, they can apply to the state of California to become licensed and begin working. Next slide, please. So this is just a little overview of our program. So to be eligible for our program, we have the students attend an info session or review the info session video. We record it via Zoom. They must be 18 years or older. Our CASA score is 230 or higher. They must apply to Saddleback College to become a student, or IVC, which is Irvine College as well. That's our sister college. After provisional or alternate acceptance, the students must complete some health requirements, complete and clear drug screenings, and their background check. And the reason that we have these health requirements and drug screenings is because our students also go to an internship. And so they do an 80-hour rotation in local hospitals within Orange County and LA County. So they must be cleared to be at their facilities as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about how our program is broken down. So we have 5 courses total for the lab assistant and phlebotomy certificate program. 3 of them are online. So the first 2 classes that they take is Introduction to Clinical Lab and Basic Lab Procedures. Those are taught by myself, the content instructor, and those are online and asynchronous. So those are taught concurrently with Jennifer Salas. She has a separate course that we call the ELL vocab course, and so they take those together, and the vocab course is intended to support the students for the intro classes, the online asynchronous classes. And then there's an in-person class where they learn the skills. And then the last class is when they go out to their clinical sites. So next slide, please. Okay, so how we integrate our online classes. So the phlebotomy instructor, myself, and ESL instructor, we coordinate instruction. Along with the 2 asynchronous classes, the students also register for a 2-hour-a-week synchronous vocab class. So that's the vocab class that they have with Jennifer Salas, who's on here with us. She is their support instructor. So what she does, the vocab instructor has access to my Canvas shells to contextualize the content and vocab from each weekly module. Every week, we also coordinate lesson plans together. We discuss, what the students should focus on, what they're struggling with, what to study for. So for my asynchronous classes, what I do is I have pre-recorded lectures with subtitles. which allows students to replay them, slow them down, or repeat any content that they need. Because we have found that, this community of students, it takes them a little longer to go through a PowerPoint than, somebody whose first language is English. So this really helps them. I also put multiple learning, modalities, oral, auditory, and visual, because everybody learns differently. And also the lectures are taught at a slower pace with like pauses to stop and check for understanding. Um, Jennifer Salas is going to now talk about what she does with her online for the vocab support, how she supports the students to these classes.
In addition to what Jen said about having access into the Canvas course, I just want to emphasize that that's a very helpful tool because we each have our separate background. And so when I'm able to access the CTE content, then I can really design the AESL support with that lens in mind. It's been really exciting to have our weekly collaboration as well. So just an example that Jen shared with me as the students are getting ready for their first exam is that they're mixing up the 3 levels of testing with the 3 phases of testing. And so then in our class last night, we drew out some maps and were able to really talk through, practice that vocabulary. The students were able to go into breakout rooms and then come up with additional content for examples to add into our organizational methods. And I, appreciate the support of Jen because we have our collaboration meetings. But then when I'm, really working on that content to bridge those gaps, I can send her quick texts so that we're really on point because my responsibility is the vocabulary development, the oral oracy, supporting that reading and writing, that emphasis on the pronunciation. And I am not a content instructor. And so that's why this partnership is really important. In addition to, an example like that, where we're integrating that support, we're also using Burlington English in our AESL department. And so within that platform of Burlington English, we're able to assign different career-oriented modules, whether it's on just the format and layout of a hospital, because as students are going into, the hospital settings, the lab settings, even that can be intimidating. And so Burlington English is the platform we're using where students are able to listen, practice the vocabulary pronunciation, record that, and then I'm able to view that on a platform. The last piece that I want to mention is this routine that we've developed in our ESL class where we'll take the key points, the vocabulary that Jen has shared with us would be that emphasis for the week and for the module or week. And then what we'll do is we'll pare down that vocabulary to some key terms, integrate that into a scenario where students are then practicing the dialogue in a more formal setting. And then transfer that kind of dialogue practice into an informational paragraph and where they're filling in the blanks. And, that then is aligning the CTE phlebotomy content with also our AESL objectives. And so that's really that finesse that we're trying to do is align the objectives together to really get to the outcome of having our students engage in their careers and be able to earn a livable wage and also really give back to the communities because we're not producing monolingual phlebotomists, we're producing bilingual phlebotomists who are really able to meet the needs culturally and linguistically in their communities. So the power of this program is really growing. I also want to mention that we have, right now, we're even over our limit. We typically have a limit of about 25, and we're at a roster right now of 31 students in our classes as we're jumping into week 3 of this initial 8-week section. So I'll pass it back to you, Jen, to continue.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Go ahead. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is how we integrate our in-person and lecture skills classes. So our in-person advanced phlebotomy course is staffed with instructors from both adult education, ELL, and the healthcare phleb instructor, myself, the content instructor, as well as 1 to 2 tutors are also available for us. They're not generally there the entire class because some of our classes can be like 8 hours long the whole day, but we'll have a tutor like maybe half of the day, and then my vocab support instructor, ELL, Jennifer Sauce, will also come for half the day. Usually for the lecture portion is when I need her the most. So the way that we do this, we do a couple of different team teaching approaches. We're going to be trying some new ones this semester as well. We'd like to do the traditional team teaching where, both instructors are in front of the class, where one is taking a verbal instructional lead and the other instruction, the ESL English support instructor, takes a written lead, documenting key points or constructing a visual for them on the side. Another strategy that we're going to be implementing is the monitoring team teaching. So one teacher instructs instructional lead in the classroom, like myself, the content instructor, would be up front lecturing, while the support teacher is circulating the classroom and monitoring for understanding, because it's important to see if the students, are grasping the concepts. Are they taking notes? Are they paying attention? Or are they, drifting off? Because sometimes it can be a lot for them and they can just float away. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, these are some of our key concepts that we focus on. So in the medical field, the need for clear communication is imperative. So during the pre-analytical phase of testing, correctly identifying a patient is the most important step in the venipuncture procedure. So we emphasize the importance of patient safety and professional communication. We have found that professional communication is the area that our ELO students need the most support in. So giving ELL students a procedure to follow is just not enough for them to understand and be successful in the field. So what we do is we'll take each step of a procedure and we'll break it down verbally and focus on the language barrier to make students feel more confident in this area. Next slide, please. So we've provided, this is just an example of one of our procedures that we do in the phlebotomy course. This is just a mock phlebotomy draw. This is what they do the first 2 weeks of the course to show us that they're capable of working in the field, that they can communicate. Now, this is really easy for a regular general population students whose first language is English, right? But for our English language learners, this can be a little bit intimidating. So for example, step number 4 says position and prepare the patient. Well, how are they supposed to say that, So we take the first 4 and we break this down easily, so greet and identify the patient, introduce yourself, ensure lab tests are clearly marked on the requisition, and position and prepare the patient. Now, these students need to be able to speak clearly. They need to professionally communicate. They need to be able to understand, and they need to be able to verbalize and also make sure that the information matches what they have. So what Jennifer Salas and I have come up with is this is an example of what we do for them in the classroom. So we will give them little scenarios on how to say each step. What do you do? Because you can say, greet and identify the patient, but they're going to say, okay, well, how do I do that? How do I say that? So we come up with all the different ways you can speak that or communicate that in English. So my favorite one to point out is the explain the procedure to the patient. So we tell them things like, oh, have you ever had your blood drawn before? Okay, great, have a seat. Or please sit up straight, because we find that these are the little things that they struggle with the most. Which arm would you prefer? You may feel a little poke. So this is where we have found the most success, is focusing on these little areas that kind of get left out in regular classes where they don't really need that support, but this is where our students need the support the most. And this makes them feel so much more confident. They love it. They dialogue with each other in the classroom. So they have to practice this, and they have to present all of these 26 steps in order to move on in the class. But being able to work with the support instructor, work with the tutor on anything that they need help with really helps them get through this. Next slide, please. I believe we're at the end of so this is just some pictures that we've provided in the last few semesters of our students drawing blood on each other. They love it. It can be really comical or really emotional. We get tears, we get laughter, we get all kinds of things. But signing up for this IET program has been great. You can go to the next slide. I think it's just another picture. So this is a picture of, this is like 1/4 of our first cohort that graduated. And I'd like to point out all the different diversity that we have in our program, as well as a lot of them already had previous medical experience, which was shocking to us, but it also made it easy for me to teach because there were certain things they already got. We had midwives, we had nurses, we had microbiologists, we had people that were phlebotomists in their country, but their credentials don't transfer over to the US. So it was great. It was a really successful cohort, and it's been successful. So thank you for letting us present. And Sachiko, I'll pass it back over to you for questions. I tried to answer some of the questions in the chat already.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah, I saw that. There are a couple questions about, like, one is about, I think, requirement. Do students need to have a high school diploma?
Right, so I just answered that one in the chat.
Oh,
So
okay.
in order for them to take the program, they don't need a high school diploma, but we do list that in our requirements and on our website, because when they go to apply to the state of California for their license, the minimum education required is a high school transcript. They want that. So what we do, the adult education actually provides resources for them to get their high school transcripts translated. They'll go through a company to make them, translate into the US to see if they do transfer over, or we encourage them to take the high set at our college as well as the GED.
Great. And one more question about the externship. Is it paid or?
No, so externships are not paid. They are student phlebotomists. So they're going for 80 hours. We have affiliations with all the different hospitals. We have contracts and they accommodate our students, but no, the students are not paid, unfortunately.
Right. Well, thank you, Jennifer's, for presenting your Saddleback College program. There are a few more questions in the chat. So in the, reminder of the time, if you could respond to a few, that would be great.
Sure. So one of
Now
them. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Thank you. Now I would like to pass it over to Amy here to so she can share some CalPro resources and opportunities.
Thank you, Sachiko. And I really want to thank our presenters. That was amazing. I just learned a ton. So round of applause there for our presenters. Everybody hit that reaction button. And I do want to ask our presenters, there are still a number of questions in the chat. So while I'm sharing the resources, if our presenters can go ahead and just read through them and try to address them before we wrap up here today. And if not, I believe that we're going to try to get some answers out to you guys. But I would also ask that if our presenters are willing to share their contact information, no pressure if you don't want to, but if you're willing to have the folks who are on today contact you as a resource, please go ahead and share your email. I know that people want to speak to you directly. I can see the tremendous amount of interest. So with that, I just want to point you quickly to some IET resources that we have that we think will help you, those of you who are running IET programs, to develop them further. And for those of you who are just starting to think about your program design and what you want to do to help you design and get your programs off the ground. So the place to go is our CalPro homepage. So the QR code is on the screen, and I believe we're also going to post the website link in the chat to the CalPro homepage. So that's the place where you go for all CalPro resources. Next slide, Sachiko, please. Specifically to look at IET resources that CalPro offers, we invite you to visit our IET virtual workroom. You can get there by taking a photo of this QR code that you see in front of you. Or we can post the link direct to the IET virtual workroom in the chat as well. This workroom provides adult educators access to research-based resources, professional development resources, including and is a workroom dedicated to specific IET tools here in California and also nationally. You'll find a video library of IET videos. We currently have 17 there that really help bring the programs to life. There's also a section of IET resources that provide valuable content, including research briefs and the National Federal Advanced IET Resource Repository link. And you can access some self-directed, self-paced, short, like 2-hour IET fundamentals courses there that are free to you that really kind of introduce the IET model and what you need to know. Next slide, please. If you're up for a longer training, our presenters today were our alumni of our CalPro IET clinic. We are accepting applications right now. They're due February 6th for agency teams who want to be part of a longer, more substantial IET design and implementation clinic. And it includes several day-long virtual trainings and 3 shorter interactive webinars. Teams develop an IET capstone project, and after the training ends, get about 8 months of coaching from one of our IET, CalPro IET coaches. And you can see some of the topics that are covered there. And next slide, please. And the last thing I really want to share with you, and we'll put the link to this course in the chat as well, is, like I said, we have this self-directed 2-hour IET fundamentals course that I really want to encourage those of you to take if you haven't. This is a great resource to share with new teachers that you're pulling into IET, new partners, new employers, CTE partners. If you need to have a quick way for them to learn about what IET is. So we really encourage you to sign on to that self-directed 2-hour online course. And these are some of the learning objectives, but I'm going to turn it back to Sachiko now.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. The recording of this webinar will be available, and we'll be following up with an email, and resources and links will be all included. But before you go, we would like to hear from you. How did this go? We take your feedback seriously, and we will use the information to improve our future webinars. So please, use the QR code or use the link to access the evaluation link. Melinda, if you could put the link in the chat, that would be great. And we would like to invite you to our next webinar in February. We are talking about media literacy for adult learners, enhancing critical thinking skills in this digital age. I think it's a very timely topic. So please tune in, join us again in February. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much. And don't forget to provide feedback. Thank you so much. See you next time. And thank you to the presenters. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
All right. And on that note, I have the big red end button, so I'm kicking y'all out of here. Go have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.